Welcome. My name is Michael Huggins. I am so excited to be with you for this next little bit as we're training you on what Renatus is, what velocity banking is, what real estate investing is, what wealth creation is. There's a lot to this. And so this is just going to be an introduction to who we are, what we do, and why we're so successful. Now, I love Renatus so much. What they've done, what they've been able to educate me on and help me achieve, I absolutely love it. I went from making $500 a week, working 17 hours a day, riding a bus and a bike to these jobs, to now where I can't even tell you how much money I make to keep the lawyers happy. So we're going to go through this. I am an independent marketing affiliate with Renatus, and I'm proud to do that. Also, I am not a licensed professional in regards to taxes or law, so none of what I say should be taken as legal counsel. You, like me, are going to go get your own, and also, what we're going to be covering is some intellectual property, so feel free to take a picture. The only thing that we ask is that you don't repost this stuff on social media. You don't use it for your own purposes, except for just for sharing and telling people about how awesome Renatus is. All right, now getting into this, I have a quick story about an inventor, and he had a ton of passion about making his invention a reality. So he went around, raised up some capital, and built a car on his own, built a car. Took that car around his town and got some orders for some more cars. However, because of a lack of business understanding and structure, he ended up going bankrupt, had to shut the doors, and went back to the farm. 2 years later, he says, you know what? I can't scratch that itch. I really want to make this thing happen. So he made another car, built another business, went around town, got some more orders, but again, went bankrupt. Now, luckily, he maintained a positive attitude through this whole thing. Not many people can go through bankruptcy twice with a good attitude. Because of that good attitude, he wasn't going to quit. He decided, you know, I'm going to do it again. Now, to get some fresh air and kind of get his mind rolling, he went to a carnival, wandered into one of the tents, and saw at the beginning of the tent the process and procedure. Then at the end of the tent, what that was creating. And he realized what he was missing. What he was missing, he took it back to his business, and now he is dominating, economically dominating, such a powerhouse. Who am I talking about? I'm talking about Henry Ford. Now here's his attitude around failure, and I'm going to invite you to take on some of these ideas and attitudes like him. Failure is simply an opportunity to begin again, this time more intelligently. So we're going to look at this stuff. Now, the key and the whole point of us in these videos and our company is to help you change your results. The only way to do that is to change your mindset. Now, how much does it cost to change your mindset? It's free. That's good news. That might be your first piece of notes. It's good news. I can change my mindset. It's free. Changing your mindset will change your results. So, here's what happened for me. Now, this is your day one video. I'm going to explain my day one just so you have a little more context, okay? I was following my dream. Do you guys remember your dream? When you were in high school, college, you graduated, you had a dream. You had something you wanted to do. The challenge is most people are following, you know, some practical person's advice, and they end up not following their dream but settling for something much less. I made that same mistake. I was going to be an automotive racer, raced in F1 and Le Mans, do all that stuff, and everyone in the practical world told me, no, you can't do that. You shouldn't do that. Why don't you become an auto mechanic? That way you'll at least have a job. So that's what I did. I looked around, I was like, I don't know how to pay for college. My mom's got a student loan, my uncle's got a student loan, everyone's got a student loan. So I thought a student loan was a doorway to open up something, but I found out it was quite the financial trap. I owed $30,000 on my student loan. And what I was doing was, as I was paying on my student loan, I paid them $15,000 on their payment schedule, but because it was all interest, I was still very far behind from paying that debt off. So first mistake, student loan. Now I'm trapped. Now I'm wandering around. After I graduate, I get a job. Now my first job was all right. It was the job that they had promised me after graduating college, but the pay, they told me I was going to get paid $80,000, $90,000 a year, and I was getting $1,000 on my paycheck, $2,000 on my paycheck. That's not enough, especially when you have a student loan that your grandma co-signed on. You can't be letting that stuff go into default. So after I got my first job and those first paychecks, I realized that wasn't enough. I ended up getting a second job. Now think about this. Everyone tells us when we're growing up, if you have a job, you're successful. You want to be successful, get a job. But I had two jobs, not double successful. Something to think about there. Now, after I got those paychecks and I started looking at them, I realized, and as you can see in my fun little custom-made drawings, I made these just for you guys, is I was losing an arm and a leg to taxes. So much money was going out in taxes. I'm working from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m., and half of that money is being taken in taxes. So that's another financial trap. So we're talking about student loans, jobs, taxes. These are all financial traps. So after living in my girlfriend's mom's basement for 2 years while I was still trying to get out of debt and make all this stuff work, I learned I could qualify for a mortgage. So I jumped in, got a mortgage. Now, what I've come to learn, and with a lot of people I've asked, when you got your mortgage, did you look up the word? Did you look up the word mortgage? Did you look up what it meant? Or did you just sign away and move in? Let's break it down real quick. Just mort, what does that mean? The Latin root for mort is death. Okay, that's a red flag. And then pledge is gedge. Gedge is promise or pledge. So you're making a 30-year death pledge when you get a mortgage. Did you know that? Not many people did, let alone read the darn thing. So this is why I'm saying I jumped out of that situation into a mortgage, not knowing that that was also a financial trap. So my day one, like your day one watching this video right now, I was broke, I was confused, I was lost, I was frustrated, but I had one thing going for me, and hopefully you do too, open mindset. I had a coachable, open mindset. I was looking for something new. I wanted something new, and so that was the one thing I had going for me. So keep an open mind as we go through this stuff, right? Keep taking notes. Now, that was the old me. I wanted it all to change. And there's a mistake, and you might be making that same mistake that I was making. And that mistake is, if all these other things change, like the government, like taxes, like grocery prices and gas prices, and if everything changed, then my life would be better. No, no, no. That is not the case at all. My mentor, Jim Rohn, told me, if you will change, everything will change. So some of these ideas we're going to give you are like pants. Now, you might be asking yourself, how is an idea like pants? Well, think about it this way. Before you buy the pants, don't you try them on? You walk around in them. You see how it fits, how it feels. So that's going to be like today. We're going to give you some of these ideas. Try them on, okay? If you like them, great. Keep them. If you don't, give them back. No big deal. Now, some of these ideas I have gathered from some of the smartest and most successful people on the planet, okay? Now, what do these people all have in common? Is they're all billionaires. And they've understood the financial traps. They've understood how to build businesses. They've understood proper business structure and philosophy and strategy, and so that's what we're going to share with you. Now, after 8 years of going from basement, 2 jobs, riding my bike, riding the bus to these jobs and all that, to now I own multiple businesses, 6, 7-figure businesses, and everything's changed for me. How did we do this? What we did was we wrote a book about it. Went through all the messes, all the financial traps that most Americans find themselves in, and then wrote this book about how to get out of them, okay? It's from my own personal experience, but these are the steps to get out of it. People love the book so much that it actually went to Amazon bestseller in 4 different categories. So we're really proud of that. We're happy to share that. And this is a blueprint for ways to get out of the mess you were in. So because I changed, anybody can change. You could change, right? But again, if you want things to change for you, you got to change. That's right. Remember that. So one of the main things we're going to talk about changing is the mindset of working with a business or working with our currency, working in America. Our mindset of working. What is that mindset? Well, the employee mindset only deals with 2 currencies, and so inherently they're limited. Not only that, but there's a contradiction built into these, and that is, think about this. What's more important? What's more important? Money or time? Which one's more important? Okay, well, you know time is more important, so think about this. If time is more important than money, well, here's my perspective. When I was little, growing up, my mom would put me in the daycare and say, you spend your time here. And she'd say, all right, I'm going to go spend my time over here for what? For money. So my perspective was money's more important than my time or her time because we're all trying to get money. Now, the challenge is any contradiction is going to lead to pain. Any contradiction in any area of your life, whether that's health, relationships, communication, money, business. If there's a contradiction, you're going to have some pain. If there's some unawareness, you're going to have some pain. Can I tell you a story? Okay. A pirate walked into the bar, and the bartender recognized him from a year ago and said, "Hey, welcome back from your journeys. But you kind of look like a mess. What happened to you?" The pirate says, "Oh man, we had some amazing adventures, amazing adventures." Bartender says, "Well, what happened to your leg? You got this wood peg? What happened?" The guy said, "Oh, yeah, we were fighting this rival pirate group, and a cannonball came right at me, and I saw it, but I couldn't get out of the way and took out my leg. But, you know, I'm getting by with this wood leg. It's pretty all right." And the bartender says, well, what happened to your hand? You don't have a left hand. You have a hook?" He says, "Oh, yeah, we were just goofing around doing some sword fighting, and they cut my hand off, but I'm getting by with this hook. You know, actually, I think I like it better than the hand." Well, then the bartender says, "But what about your eye? You lost an eye?" The pirate says, "Oh, yeah, one day I was looking up at the sky, and some bird poop fell in my eye." And the bartender's like, "Bird poop? Who ever heard of bird poop losing an eye? I never heard of that. How do you lose your sight to bird poop?" And the pirate says, "No, that was the first day I had on my hook." So what this goes to show you is any area of unawareness will lead to pain. So that's why we're here. That's why we're training you. The more you know, the less pain you'll have and the more contradictions we can clean up. So the wealthy mindset works with 5 currencies, including knowledge, relationships, and credit. So let's clean up those contradictions. Let's clean up that unawareness and start to get this new knowledge. Keep taking notes on this stuff. And we prioritize these in the right order. Time is the most important thing. Money's down at the bottom. Now, what's interesting is a lot of people go, "Okay, but if you want more money, don't we have to move it up the priority list?" When in fact, you want money to work for you, you need to move it down at the bottom of the priority list. I know it's hard. I've been there. I remember standing at the bus stop while it was snowing, right? A foot of snow, watching cars go by, freezing, wishing I had more money. I get it. But if we keep money at the bottom of the list, then we can actually have more of it and we can control it. We don't want to be controlled by money. Okay? So keep the currencies in the proper order. Now, the other thing we want to fix or help you understand is the accumulation strategy. The accumulation strategy for retiring. The accumulation strategy for being able to stop working if you want to and just live off the income of your own personal resources. Well, how does that look? Most people are following what's called an accumulation model. So they take a little bit of money from their paycheck, put it in a pile. Take some, put it in a pile. And they do this for years, decades, half of their life. They're trying to build up this big pile. Now, who's in control of this pile? Are you? No. Who's in control? There is no control. It could be lost in a whim. It could be lost off someone else's bad decision. It's terribly risky. Right? And a lot of people are like, "Well, I don't want to do, I'm risk adverse, so I just put my money in the stock market." That is so risky. And to have a financial planner who's worse off than you trying to give you advice, stuff is dangerous, guys. The accumulation model, if you go look around and ask your friends, ask your family, "Hey, do you know anyone who's retired comfortably using the accumulation model? Building up enough money, building up a nest egg and living off of that. Do you know anyone who's done that? Or do you know anyone who knows anyone who's done that?" It's such a rare happening, yet most people are still shooting for it. We want something that will actually work, that's predictable, reliable. So we've totally changed our mindset. We're not in the accumulation model. It doesn't work for most people, for the majority of people. Instead of building up a nest egg, how about we manufacture them? So in our world, the chicken is a rental property, and the eggs are rent checks, or it could be a piece of land and a note check, or it could be a tax lien and the interest checks. It doesn't matter. But the key is that these checks keep coming because of what we bought originally, right? Now think about this. If we had 10 paid for properties, free and clear, and you and I decided, let's go to Tokyo for a month, and we spend all the money from our rental income, all month long, and then next month we were like, how about let's go to Madrid? Okay, so we fly over to Madrid, and right when we land, guess what? First of the month rolls around, and our checks get deposited, and boom, we can spend a whole month, spend all the money in Madrid. And now we're like, how about London? You see what I mean? If you have paid for properties, free and clear, you have paid for assets, your money will chase you around the world. So what side of this equation do you want to get on? Do you want to keep chasing money? You want money to chase you? Obviously, the latter. So let's keep going. This is where you got to understand business owner mindset, real estate investor mindset. These two mindsets are going to get you out of the mess that you found yourself in. Here's what I mean. Let's talk about some real estate. We're going to define it using relationship analogies. So this will be a ton of fun and kind of catch up with a few things. So first, what is a buy and hold? In the relationship world, we know that is a marriage. Perfect. Okay. What about a foreclosure? What would that be? All right. You guessed it, divorce. Okay, here's one. How about subject to? What is subject to existing financing? How would that work in the relationship world? That would be marriage with the prenup. Okay, so some paperwork involved. All right, what about a lease option? What would a lease option be in the relationship world? You guessed it, living together before marriage. Okay, how about this one? Some of you have been subject to this one. What is an auction in the relationship world? It is a blind date. There you go. Okay, what about creative acquisitions? How are we going to get creative about acquiring certain things? Online dating. There you go. Okay, multifamily. What about multifamily? Someone's going to yell, Brady Bunch. No, how about this? Polygamy. Nah, I'm just kidding. That's just a joke. Okay, the point is, there are all kinds of real estate out there, all kinds. And you gotta know what's involved. You gotta understand the pieces of the cake, right? We're trying to bake a cake. We got all these different ingredients. What are you gonna do with them? So you gotta understand all the kinds of real estate. And again, the following is an example of when money was made by applying the real estate investing education. I don't have to read this. Let me tell you about a quick story about my friend Paul. Now, don't be like Paul in the first part, because I worked with Paul at Jiffy Lube for a year. Now, if you guys have ever been to a quick lube shop, it's not a glorified job at all. I had to do 11,000 oil changes a year, and they gave me $22,000 for it. Think about that. $22,000 to work all year. So I'm working with Paul, and I get introduced to real estate investing. And I tell him, dude, I figured out a way. I never need a job again. And unfortunately, he fell into this negative Nancy, yeah, right, that'll never work. Don't you know we have to work hard to make a living? And I said, no, you have to think hard. So after a year of working with this group, doing my deals, quitting my jobs, all of a sudden he decides to listen. He comes to our first training, watches an introduction kind of like this, and says, you know what? I'm going to do it. And this is an example. This is his first deal that he did within about a month of applying the training. Now, what is unique about these numbers? Take a look at the numbers. What's unique about them? Well, a lot of people are going to say, the down payment, absolutely. $187.32 to acquire a $200,000 asset. Now, we used a different real estate strategy because Paul, at this time, had a 400-something credit score, $1,900 a month income, and he was renting. Now, I didn't think about it this way, but to get a 400 credit score, you actually have to work pretty hard. So he had all these excuses. I can't do real estate because score. I don't have any time. He had 2 jobs like me. I don't have any money. What are you talking about doing real estate? And I said, dude, you don't know what I know. You don't know what this group knows. Come to a training, keep an open mind. And this is what he did. He bought this house using a real estate strategy requiring no money. It's an all-inclusive trust deed wraparound mortgage. It's awesome. You got to learn how to do it. But he was able to go from renting a 2-bed, 1-bath for $1,100 a month to owning a 5-bed, 3-bath for $1,000 a month. Now, this was a duplex, so he lived in the top and rented out the bottom. What do you think he rented the bottom for? $1,000. So he went from renting and costing him $1,100 a month to owning for no money out of pocket. Someone else was making his payment. And now he's got the tax write-off from being an owner, totally different neighborhood. People stopped stealing from his porch. 2 different lives, 2 different worlds. So some of you might be sitting here going, yeah, but I don't have any time. I don't have any money. I don't have any credit. I don't know anything. Well, that was me and Paul. We were in that world together. And we totally made that change. So if you're watching that video, just remember there are some strategies that don't require as much money or credit as you think. Now, some of you are sitting there back thinking, hey, man, I got plenty of money. I got plenty of time. I got plenty of resources and credit. I understand that, but in our community, not every single thing is going to apply to you. So stay focused. We're trying to help everybody here. Now let's look at this deal, and I'm going to test a little bit of your knowledge and some assumptions that you might be making around deals. Let's take a look at these numbers. Purchase price, $250, rehab is $70, and then the holding and closing cost is going to be $15 and $25. So total for the deal, $375. We can sell this thing, this property, for $420. So by the numbers, and of course we're rounding, is a $45,000 profit. Now, this is nice inside of a 4-month window to make a $45,000 profit. The difference is there are 3 ways to look at these deals. There are 3 ways to approach, 3 mindsets when looking at numbers like this. So the first one is the kind of person who tells us, Michael, you're doing it all wrong. That rehab 70 grand, that's totally, I could have got it done for 40 grand. We could have saved $30,000 if you'd have just let me do the work. Okay. But what mindset is this person in, right? They're in the self-employed employee mindset. Now, some people might go, nuh-uh, not me, I'm a business owner. Okay, well, think about this. Financially speaking, if you can walk away from the deal and it's still making money, a business or whatever, and it's still making money without you there, that's a business. But if you have to be involved, if your income is related to a clock or you being there, not a business. You may get to fill out business tax forms. However, financially speaking, you're still self-employed. So this guy who says, I could move in, I could do the rehab myself, I could save a bunch of money, he's stuck in self-employed mentality, which we're not interested in. We're not interested in that. We want a business to create a lifestyle. So this is not for us. Plus, how many deals can he do at one time? The move-in person. They move in, how many can they do? Just one. We want to do way more than that. So this is not the mindset we're after, okay? Not to mention, this is what your living room would look like. And as soon as it's pretty and comfortable and nice, you sell it and move back into a construction zone. We're not talking about this. We're talking about being the CEO of a real estate investing empire, not a contractor inside of a real estate project. 2 different worlds, okay? The second type of investor that we meet is the debt person. This person says, hey, you know what? I know all the lenders. I know how to do this deal, no money out of pocket. So let's go after it. And we say, okay, sure, let's do it. So we need $325 up front to do the deal. So we can get a hard money lender. And the nice thing about hard money lenders, they don't care about your credit. They don't care about your income. What do they care about? The deal. If you know how to structure a deal, they'll lend you the money. But they're not partners. They're just in it for the money. So they'll give you money, on this example, 12%, 6 months. Okay? So now we're doing the deal. Oh, this is exciting, right? It's only going to take us 4 months to do the deal. We got all the money. And we're going through the project. It's exciting. And remember, our sales price is $420. But in the middle of the deal, market has a correction, and now the deal is only worth $320. Can this happen? Can this happen? In the middle of a deal, can sales prices and ARVs adjust? Absolutely. We don't have any control over this. So is there a way for this person to finish the deal without losing money? Without losing anybody's money, their own money, coming to the table with money? Is there a way for this person to finish the deal based off of how they structured it without losing money? It's a challenge, but unfortunately, no. Someone's going to lose money because of how he structured it. So let's take a look at the third one, and you'll see a whole new world where the risk is much lower and we can create more deals. So there's a level to this. One of the major keys is structure. If you don't have any structure, kind of like Henry Ford, you're going to go bankrupt. If you don't have the proper structure and proper awareness, it's very easy to make a mistake that could cost you too much. So the little bit of structure, now let's take a look at this deal. With this structure, we're going to call it a debt equity blend with an LLC. So here's the thing. The same private money lender for the debt, but instead of taking $325, we're going to take $215. Same hard money lender, same deal, but we're not going to take it all. We're going to do just $215 on this deal, not the $325. And then the other amount of money is going to come as an equity partner. And what we're going to be able to do is sell half of our company to this equity investor. Now think about this for a second. Where do we find these equity investors? Is it hard to find? Is it easy to find? Think about it this way. Most of the people you know who are contributing to their 401ks, who are invest in the stock market. And so there's this huge amount of money that's open to risk, and has a very little interest rate attached to it, very small earnings, plus fees and taxes and everything else on top of that. So what if we started having conversation with people and said, hey, you got 110,000 over here. If you put your 110,000 into this deal with us, you could own this half of this LLC. On this particular deal, you get 22.5 as your income. Plus you get tax write-offs, you get a whole bunch of other things. And guess what else? We can insure the property. Your investment has an insurance policy. Can you get insurance on your stock or your bond or your T-bill? Not necessarily. So we can have collateral, we can have insurance, we get a higher rate of return, we have control. Why not? The main challenge is TV, commercials, news, advertising. Most people tell you, put your money here, put your money here, put your money here, when really you could be self-directing it with real estate. So we have these conversations with people all the time. So finding an equity partner is the least of your concerns. And in another training on another class, we'll show you exactly how to do that. But I want you to follow the structure on this one, okay? So now we're doing this deal, and we got our equity partner in place, we got our debt investor in place, and what we can point out to him is he can get a 22.5% return on this deal, in this example. If we use his money all year, 67. Now, again, somewhere in the middle of the deal, the price of real estate goes down. Is this going to happen? Absolutely, this is going to happen. These cycles in real estate, you could go back 100 years and see these cycles. 7 to 10 years up, 7 to 10 years down. And it just kind of cycles. So think about, when did it bottom out and start going up? Okay? Now, what do you think it's about to do? Could happen tomorrow, could happen 5 years from now. We don't know. So since we don't know, we want to create these structures so that no matter what happens, we can still make money. That's the key to being an educated investor. So also, I want to point out something else. When you're driving around and you see the gas prices went down, let's say $1. They went down $1. How would you feel? Would you get excited? Oh, yay, this thing I buy all the time is now worth less. I'm going to go buy some more. Absolutely. But why do people, when they see real estate prices go down, get depressed? If we're real estate buyers, just like we're gasoline buyers, when we see the prices go down, should we get excited? Absolutely. So these next couple years, you should look forward with anticipation, with excitement, not apprehension. Let's get excited about this stuff. Buying real estate at a discount, sometimes 2-for-1 specials. So when the market corrects, get excited, because many deals, many strategies we'll know and you'll know and you can execute where most people will be out the game. You got to go settle for a job and this and that, but you would just adjust with the times, okay? So this flexibility and the business structures are going to allow you to make money no matter what the market is doing. That's a major key. So now we're looking at this deal. Is there a way that this person, based off of this structure, can finish the deal and still make money? Let's take a look at it. If he were to go put a renter in it, how long would he have before his note is due? 6 months. That's it. Because that debt guy, the hard money lender guy, wants his money back after 6 months. So what other options do we have? Could we go to a bank and do long-term refinancing? Well, let's take a look. If a bank pulls a title report, what will they see? On this property, they'll see we owe $215,000. Okay, it's worth $215, or sorry, we owe $215, but it's worth $320. So could we go to a long-term bank and get our 30-year mortgage and put it in there? Yes, now we got a nice low payment, we put the renter in, and now in the LLC agreement, what it says is if there's a price adjustment, what we'll do is convert it to a rental, and then we'll split 50-50 cash flow, 50-50 tax write-off, 50-50 cost segregation, 50-50 everything. And then when the price comes back up, we'll sell it, and 50-50 is the profit. So that way, our equity partners make money throughout the entire process. This is a major key. So do you think that that equity person might have a friend or 2 or 5 that also have money that also might want a 22% return? Exactly. So the more you do this, the easier it gets. And you might run into a situation where you now have more money than deals. Okay? So then you just watch a different class about where to find the deals. Now, as the investor in the deal, if I put no money into this and I get 22.5 out of it, my return is an infinite rate of return. Okay? That's the CEO position we want you to be thinking about. It's a mindset. Now, the wealthy people in this country all use business systems. That's what I'm saying. If it's a system, you can step out and the money will still be the same. Okay? If you have to be there for the money to be the same, not a business. Now, if you're taking notes, I want you to write down on the side, systems as an acronym, SYSTEMS. It stands for save yourself stress, time, energy, money, and sanity. If you have a system, you can save all these resources. But if you don't have a system, then you are spending all that stuff, time, energy, money, and your sanity, okay? We want these systems. So think about McDonald's as a system. Most people think they're a restaurant business, but really, they're the #1 holder of real estate, and their system is so reliable and so easy that it can be run by teenagers. Think about that. This corporation feeds 1% of the planet every day, run by teenagers. So what is the smallest, most complete real estate business? Do you have to be there to make money? It's a rental property. You don't have to be there. You step out, the rental property makes the same amount of money, whether you look at it all day or not. So this is what we're looking for. We're looking for complete business systems that we can leverage so that we can spend our lives how we want to, not just chasing money. So here's the 5 pillars of wealth. These 5 pillars of wealth, if you pay attention to each area, you'll be successful, phenomenally successful. If you neglect these areas, we can pretty much figure out where you're going to end up. Okay? You'll become another statistic. You know, if you look around right now, people age 65, 95% of them are either dead or dependent upon family, friends, church, or government, or some other resource to pay their bills. Only 5% of people actually retire. So do not neglect these things. Now let's go through them. Here's an example of the tax pillar being used as a business owner versus W-2. And you can make the same amount of money, same $100,000 comes into your life, but the challenge is W-2 employees, we get taxed on that money up front. Whereas business owners, our revenue comes in, we spend that revenue to pay for our business and our lifestyle and other things to take care of that, and then we're taxed on what's left over. So same expenses, the same household makes $100,000, spends $70,000. But because one's a business owner, their tax savings is $20,000 difference. So of course, this is an example you're going to get with your CPA. Everyone has different numbers. But the idea that you see is business owners are taxed totally differently than W-2. And you can, like me, have a W-2 job and a business at the same time while you're growing this one to replace its income. Now, where do you learn this stuff? How do people become business owners successfully? I've researched a ton of other companies, and unfortunately, I'm embarrassed to say, I've spent thousands and thousands of dollars with other companies just to find out I was wasting my time and my money. When I came to Renatus, they weren't asking for all of my money. They weren't asking for gobs and gobs of money. They were serious, though, about having this bar of knowledge be set in order to take advantage of everything this community has to offer. You have this Renatus knowledge, great, the doors open up to you. That means you become this type 3 educated investor. That's what we're looking for. Now, how do you get the training? It's through online video vaults, over 300 hours of practitioner instructors. Now, what is a practitioner instructor? A practitioner instructor is someone who does exactly what they're teaching. Okay, you might go to the academic world and go to your university and take a business class, but that guy is an employee of the university, not the business owner. So these practitioner instructors, these business owners, are doing exactly what they're teaching. Okay, when you open up the multifamily class, that guy owns thousands and thousands of doors. When you open up the fix and flip class, that guy's fix and flipped hundreds of doors. So those people, when you're listening, you're learning from what they're doing, not some guy who had a successful business years ago, in the moment right now. Now, our education is designed in 2 parts. The first half of the class is going to be designed to help you keep your money. And stay tuned to the end of this video because I'm going to show you one technique that'll make a major difference in your life. But the key is you got to keep your money. We already saw that difference with taxes, but what about with banking? What about our retirement accounts, our credit scores? All these things, if there's unawareness around these, remember my pirate story? If there's unawareness around these things, you will get hurt. So the first group is going to help you keep your money. The second group of classes is going to help you build your money. So let's dive into that, okay? Renatus' top tier program is a bargain. It's 25 grand. Now, some people might think, man, 25 grand? I don't know. But you got to ask yourself, how long do you want to keep thinking 25 grand is a lot of money? Here's what I want you to do. If you go to myrenatus.com, you're going to go through the course catalogs and you'll see everything that we have to offer. The first thing is the Keep Your Money classes inside of our essentials, okay? This group of classes is for everybody. everybody. Even if you're never going to be a real estate investor, you still need to learn about your banking, your taxes, your credit, your retirement accounts. All these things matter to you. So in our course called The Essentials, this is where we're going to help you fix your money right away. You got to start applying this stuff. So there's going to be the core classes and then some add-on classes into your real estate as you're starting to say, all right, I'm ready to do my first deal now. So we have our red flags class, things not to do, our creative acquisitions class, how to buy things with just the words. There's a ton going into the essentials. Once you've got those keep your money classes in your brain, then we're going to start on the build your money classes. This is what we call the AIT, or Accelerated Investor Training. Now in here is, like if you were to go be a specialist, you could specialize in buy and hold. You could specialize in multifamily. You could specialize in commercial. How many of you wanted to own restaurants and storage units and movie theaters and offices and hotels? We got a whole thing on commercial. Then we also have the paper side of real estate, owning the tax liens, owning the tax deeds, owning the seller finance notes, all of the paper side of real estate too. This is important to know because in those cycles, remember we talked about the real estate cycle? There's the commercial cycle that's different, and then there's the note cycle, which is also different, which means there's always something up. Notes is going to be up. You got to learn this stuff. Then there's also wholesaling and auctions and lease options. There are short sales and foreclosures, which is going to be a big deal when the market does its correction. You're going to have to know this stuff. Now, some of you that are already on this wealth path, you have 20, you have 50, you have 100 doors already, great. Then this next round of classes for wealth acceleration is going to enhance what you're doing, speed you up to where you're already headed. Okay, so wealth acceleration and the business management side of real estate, man, we knock it out of the park with our training. There is no one better than us. And then also finally getting into the retiring in real estate, how to hold this stuff, how to pay little to nothing in tax for the rest of your life. All these advanced strategies, once you've watched those keep your money classes, then we'll do your build your money classes. In the AIT, there's over 300 hours of training. It's huge. You don't need to go through all of it to start, but you do need to start if you're going to go through all of it. Now that was our education pillar. Now let's talk about this banking pillar for a minute. This is the gold that if you pay attention, your life will never be the same. If you apply what we're about to show you, you will get out of debt faster. You just have to run the numbers and pay attention, okay? So again, we're going to use a hypothetical scenario, again, because your numbers are different than my numbers and Sally's numbers and Andrew's numbers. Everyone's numbers are different, okay? So we're just going to take an example of $5,000 after tax, and this person is just going to do their typical banking. And think about this. When your $5,000 comes into your account, why is it going to your checking account? Have you ever thought about that? Why do you immediately put in your checking account? We want you to be thinking critically about all of your financial moves. So again, why is it going to your checking account? Well, most people would say, well, duh, Michael, I need to pay my bills. Okay, so let's take a look at this example here. So we got a loan, $1,200 a month for a $200,000 loan at 6% interest. Then the next thing we got to pay for is a car. $12,000 balance left on the car, $600 a month at 6% interest. Now we have some credit cards. We got a line. $12,000 balance, $600 a month at 21% interest. Now think about this. How long would it take you to pay off this credit card if you were making minimum payments? Minimum payments at 21%. How long would it take? Years, right? Years and years and years and years. Better part of a decade perhaps for some of you. Depends on your numbers. But if you make minimum payments with the bank's agreements, you are stuck. The other thing I want to point out is with this plan, I love this plan, is you don't have to cut lifestyle. Have you ever met someone who's created wealth in their life by scrimping and saving and cutting and just shrinking? Have you met someone that shrunk their way to wealth? No, it doesn't happen. So in this lifestyle category, most people think and have guilt all wrapped up in their lifestyle. Oh, I shouldn't be going to the movies. I shouldn't be taking this person out to dinner or whatever because I'm trying to get out of debt. Well, the challenge is a lot of this advice out in the world says, hey, if you cut out your dinner and your movies and you cut out this and that, then you could become wealthy by cutting. It doesn't work like that. This plan I'm about to show you does not require cutting your lifestyle. It requires thinking about your money in a different way. Okay, now also in our example, this person is putting $1,400 a month to their savings account. So in their cash flow statement, it's $5,000 in, $5,000 out. Not a good business. Cash flow zero. Would you buy that business? No. It's not a good business. So what about changing some structure? What can we do to make something different in this person's life? So I'm going to ask you a few questions. So this is going to challenge some of your 9th grade science class memory. But answer this. Is this a true statement? 32 degrees, freezing point of fresh water at sea level. Is this a true statement? I know some of you are probably thinking, well, you got to tell me more, Michael. Is it Fahrenheit or Celsius? Ah, okay. Is this a true statement? 32 degrees Celsius? No, it's not. In fact, this would be the true statement. 32 degrees Fahrenheit, 0 degrees Celsius. That's the freezing point. Okay, well, what about this? What about this? Which one's hotter? Which one's hotter? 32 or 1? Which one's hotter? Well, in fact, the 1 is hotter than the 32 because of this scale. So let me ask you this question. Which one costs more? Which one is more expensive? Oh, we don't know. It's hard to tell by just the numbers. See, the challenge in science, we got our degrees and we got our Fahrenheits and our Celsius, and we could tell exactly what scale it's on. But in the banking world, all we have is this percentage symbol. And so we don't necessarily know what scale it's on, and we don't know what it's costing us. So we got to dive in a little bit deeper so we know the actual numbers. So first to know is loans. You've got to understand the difference between loans and lines. First is loans are calculated on an amortized schedule. Now there's that word again, mort. Right? We talked about that. Mort meaning death. We've got an amortized schedule with a loan. Also, with loans, money only moves one direction. Just one direction, to the bank. That's it. Now with lines, on the other hand, they're calculated what's known as a simple interest schedule or average daily interest, ADI. Calculated differently, and money goes in and out. Money goes in and out. It's the same as a checking account. So we're already used to checking accounts. Well, now let's look at some lines. So they're calculated differently and function differently as well. So for some of you, maybe this is the first time you've ever seen an amortization slide. Some of you have probably seen hundreds, but we're not going to leave anyone behind. So you new people, check this out. This is an amortized schedule for that $200,000 loan that I showed you. At the beginning, you can see the interest and principal ratio is almost 3 to 1. When you make a $1,200 payment to the mortgage, they're going to say $250 principal, $950 interest. That red line is the bank's profit. Now, over time, it gets lower and lower and lower. Now, what do you think most people do right around the 5, maybe 7-year mark with their house? What do? They do one of two things. They either refinance or they sell it and move into another house. Okay, but what has happened in this portion of the loan, these couple years at the beginning of the loan? What has really happened? Let's take a look at it. Let's add up 4 years. That'd be 48 payments. If you times 48 by 1,200, you're going to spend $57,000 out of pocket. Here you go, bank, 57 grand. But only 12,000 of it counts towards the debt. So you were at 200,000, and now you're down to 188, but it costs you 45 grand in interest to get down to 188. To pay off 12,000 in debt took 45 grand. Now, sometimes I'll ask people, would you ever get a 40-year mortgage? And they're like, no way. I would never do that. That'd take too long to pay off. But they'll get a 30-year mortgage and refinance at year 10. That's the same thing. And financially speaking, it's actually worse. So we want people to critically think about the moves they're making in the world. Now, what about from a cash flow perspective, the line and the loan? Let's take a look at the loan. When you make that payment, 100% of the cash flow is gone. It's now over in the bank's control. But with a loan or with a line, when you make a payment, only the interest gets taken away and the principal is left over and is accessible to make your moves. So in this strategy we're calling velocity banking, there are a couple general rules that would help you understand. Rule number 1 is lines are better than loans. Rule number 2 is the employee mindset looks at cash as currency, whereas the wealthy mindset looks at cash as velocity. Now, what the heck does that mean? Cash as velocity? Have you ever thought about that or even heard that? What does that mean, cash as velocity? Well, let me show you. It's going to become pretty obvious here in just a second. Okay, so now with our 5,000 coming in, what are we going to do? Let's do something bold. Let's change it. This is what cash is velocity means. Instead of doing the typical make a minimum payment to the card, what if we took our whole paycheck and threw it at the line. And instead of operating out of a checking account, what if we operated out of the line first? And we put our whole paycheck in. What if? Well, then it would effectively eliminate that $600 allocation of cash you had to throw at your credit card, because now the $5,000 is in there. The other thing I want you guys to think about is this amount of money that's going to the savings account, this $1,400, okay? Have you ever heard of the rule of 72? Okay, if you haven't, put it in your notes. Rule of 72. Here's how it works. Whatever interest rate you're earning, however many times that goes into 72, that answer is how many years it will take your money to double. So if you're earning, for example, 1% interest, how many times is 1 going to 72? 72. So that means 72 years before your $1,000 deposit turns into $2,000. Now, will $1,000 or $2,000 72 years from now buy what $1,000 could buy today? No. So if your money's sitting in a savings account getting a 1, it's going to take 72 years to double. What if it's getting a 0.1 or a 0.01? So inherently, saving money in a savings account means you are losing. Think about it this way. It's cleverly labeled savings account, but if it was accurately labeled bank's lending pool, you might think differently if you walked into the bank and your banker pats you on the shoulder and says, hey, did you make a deposit to the lending pool this month? You might be thinking, why am I not making a deposit to my lending pool? Why am I depositing to your lending pool? So instead they call it savings account, and now you're happy about putting money in it. Again, think critically about where the money is going. So in this example, instead of leaving the savings account where we're getting very little interest and the Rule 72 shows us it's going to take forever to double, what if we redirect those funds to work for us? Remember, money works for us. As CEOs, money works for us. So we're going to redirect that money, and now with this scenario, we have a cash flow of $2,000. So if we were to operate using velocity banking strategy, how long would it take us to pay off this credit card? Earlier, we established it would be several years to pay off using the minimum payment. But if we redirect these funds and we don't cut our lifestyle, what would happen? Well, first, our $12,000 balance will go down to $7,000, okay? But then by the end of the month, we got to pay for our mortgage, our car, and our lifestyle, so it'll go up by $3,000. Now, what do we do next month? Same thing, same thing. Now, some people say, well, Michael, what about if we have an emergency? If I'm not putting money in my savings account, then what? Well, great news, it's actually built into your line. The savings account, this cushion, the rainy day funds, it's built in right there. So if you have an emergency, access the funds, handle the emergency, and move on. If not, follow the program, and your credit card, or the credit card in this example, will be paid off in 6 months. How awesome is that? So what do we do now? Has this ever happened to you? You paid off a credit card, and they let you know, hey, great news, we're going to give you more. That's awesome. Our students know, here's what our students know about the credit limit increase. It's only for 2 things. Only assets and emergencies. That's it. If a bank gives you more currency in the form of a line, all you do is take care of emergencies and buy more assets. That's it. So sometimes people say, well, Michael, what about if I want to buy a new suit, or I want to buy a new car, or I want to go on vacation, or I want to buy a new sofa? How do I pay for these things if I can't use my line? Easy. We pay for it out of the profit from our deals. That's it. One extra step. Okay, these lines are tools from the bank for us to make money. Okay, so now we've paid off this line. Here's what we could do. Here's what's really cool. What if you took from your line $12,000 and made a principal-only payment towards the mortgage, right? You reduced it by $12,000. Could you do that? Absolutely. And here's what would happen again. Our $12,000 credit card would be paid off in 6 months. We already know this. So here's what's interesting to think about. The interest rate. I know some people go, but Michael, the credit card's 21%. My mortgage is only 6%. Why on earth would I do that? Okay, well, let's look at the math, the numbers. In a loan, for you to go from $200,000 down to $188 took 4 years and $45,000 in interest. But on a line, if we used our line to get our loan down from $200 to $188, it would take us 6 months and cost us $1,200. That's it. To get our line, using a line to get our loan from $200 down to $188 would take 6 months and $1,200. That's it. So some people would think, oh, wow, I have a really low interest rate. Look at me. And then other people are like, yeah, but look at the structure it's in. It's costing you so much money. So at the end of the day, do you want to pay a low interest rate or do you want to have more dollars? It's a real question. I'm interested in the more dollars. So this is why we're talking about velocity banking. So if you rack up your $12,000, pay it off in 6 months, do it again. After a couple years, guess what will happen? Your mortgage gets paid off, not 30 years, maybe a decade, maybe only 10 years instead of 30. Saving yourself a ton of time and money. Now, when that gets paid off, the $1,200 that was leaving the bank account for the mortgage is now going to be added to the line, and this is where cash becomes velocity. See, we're not making any more money. We're not. But because we're adding cash this way, it's actually speeding up that velocity curve, right? That graph is actually steeper now because of the cash we're throwing at it. Cash is velocity. So here's what we can do next. Pay off the car. And that $600 will flow right back in, speeding up the velocity curve even more. We're not making extra money, but we're paying it off faster. See, this is what we're talking about. You have to learn how to keep your money before we work on building our money. This is an incredible strategy. So now we got the house paid off, we got the car paid off, we got the credit card paid off. It's incredible. But it's not a good goal. How many people do you know start out every January, say, you know what, New Year's resolution, I'm getting out of debt this year. It's an uninspiring goal. Going from negative to zero, it's uninspiring. That's why most people don't do it. So it's a stepping stone. Paying off our debt is a stepping stone. Let's take it to the next level. What if, instead of just saying, I'm out of debt and calling it good, what if we buy some more rental properties? What if that house we paid off, we get a HELOC? Now, we already talked about HELOCs, right? We talked about a line of credit and how we could operate out of it. So with this line of credit, again, we only buy two things with our lines, assets and emergencies. We're going to go buy 10 properties. Now, do you remember the example I showed you with my friend Paul and how he acquired this property using someone else's mortgage? What if you did that same thing 10 times in a row? It's very easy to do. You would use your line, make your down payments, take over the property, and each one of these is going to cash flow or we're not going to do it. Now, some people say, well, where do we find these deals? Well, I just used our software and took one state, narrowed it down to one county, and then narrowed it down even more to this type of strategy. And currently, there's almost 6,000. I only need 10. How many do you need? And this is in one city and one state. We can go all over the country with this stuff, okay? So the whole idea is getting out of debt and being smart with our money and not being intimidated by banks, not being intimidated by loans or by credit cards, not being intimidated at all, moving forward with confidence. So here's an example of one of our students. Now, I'm an independent marketing affiliate with Renatus. I have fallen in love with this education, and so that's what I do. And Dane is also one with me. In his example, he was able to get a $30,000 line of credit at 0% interest, so he could put his education on there, as well as pay off his car loan, take the loan payments from the car, put it back into the line, increase his velocity curve, and get that thing paid off in less than 10 months. Then after that, he took that line, put a down payment on a duplex, and now that line that we got him, or that line that he got from his bank is now making him money. He's using the bank's money to make him money. It's an incredible system. And if you don't understand it, you might feel like this. But if you followed along with the training, you're like, oh, do tell, keep going. There's so much more. I want to pay off my student loan. I want to pay off my car. I want to pay off my duplex and my RV and my this and my that. And what about my grandma's house and my uncle's house and this and that? You could apply this strategy to so many things. Tell more people. Share these videos. We want more people to know. So at this point, it's actually pretty easy for you to take this information for granted. If you would have actually paid $1,000 to watch this class, would you have taken better notes? Would you have paid more attention? Absolutely you would have. So it's easy, because things are free, to take it for granted. Don't fall into that employee mindset of taking things for granted. Everything has value, including this webinar. So don't take it for granted. Take some action, change your life, get educated, make a difference. For our next training, what I'm going to encourage you to do is attend a live education session with some of the Renatus instructors, perhaps, with some of the local people running workshops. There is so much for you to plug into. So I encourage you, go find one of the local groups in your area or click on the next video, because we got a lot more to share with you.